Honor have just finished their conference at the Mobile World Congress 2026, and honestly, I am so excited. They announced 3 major devices, and there were a few other surprises along the way as well. So in today's video, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch this together, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on everything that we saw. If this is the first time that you're seeing my face on your screen though, then 1, lucky you, and 2, go down there, hit the subscribe button and smash that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump right in to what got announced by Honor at Mobile World Congress 2026. So AI was obviously going to be a big thing. Every single mobile company is really pushing AI at the moment. And here I think there's kind of something quite nice about this. The childhood imagination and being able to kind of bring all of her drawings to life through Honor's AI image to video feature. This is something that was new on the Honor 400 series this year, and it works surprisingly well, as we can see from this video. It kind of felt a little bit gimmicky, but I totally get why it would be magical for a child. So yeah, this was a really interesting one. This was in their last event that they did, where I went to the launch event of the V5, and they showed off how this guy basically used the V5 to vibe code the app for this warehouse. It was really cool stuff, but essentially that was more, I would say, Gemini than it was Honor in that case.
Que te lo voy a enseñar. Lo que pasa que yo tengo solo fotos.
Again, bringing memories back to life. This was a big thing that Honor was pushing when this feature was originally released, and it's cute, but it's pretty gimmicky. Let's be honest here. Heartwarming, cute. I like it. I see what they're going for here, but it feels a little bit cheesy. So AGI is the idea of having these kind of AI agents be able to do things for you proactively. We're really not there yet. We're pretty close with things like Claudebot, but honestly, I don't think I would trust AI to do things agentically on their own right now. I've had horror stories of Claudebot, so an interesting idea. This was the laptop that they announced earlier this year as well, that had the webcam that you could kind of take off the top and put it on the side. So AHI, or Artificial Human Intelligence, it's just another buzzword. Augmented Human Intelligence even, sorry. But yeah, it's kind of just another new buzzword for them, right? So universal intelligence, personal intelligence, and edge intelligence. These are the kind of 3 core pillars of what Honor are trying to do with AI. I'll be honest, this really isn't the interesting bit here. The Honor Alpha Plan program is essentially what they're trying to do here with this AI ecosystem of agents and models that will all work together across all of their devices. The 3 devices that we're going to see today, in fact. So, cameras and video are a big thing in mobiles, particularly with Honor on the Honor 8 Pro. That camera is absolutely insane.
And since the earliest days of moving pictures, Ari has been developing tools.
So this is actually really exciting. What they've got here is Ari are working directly with Honor to create some of the best video and photo capabilities in smartphones that we've seen. We're still to find out exactly how Ari are going to be working with Honor here. I wonder whether this is going to be something similar to how we've got with Leica and Xiaomi right now, where it's a lot of color science stuff, or whether we're actually going to start to see some of Ari's sensors coming into Honor phones. If we do, that is a massive thing. So from this trailer, it genuinely looks like we're going to start to see Ari sensors inside of Honor cameras and Honor's phones. If that is the case, that is insane, and is genuinely going to be a pretty big thing. Maybe it will be in this camera we've got here. So this is their whole robot phone thing, and it's a strange concept. We'll see more about it later, but if that's got an Ari sensor in it, I think it's game over for almost every other camera phone manufacturer. This is the big exciting thing. This is the Honor Magic V6. It's the new version of their foldable. I've got the V5 here, I love it. The V6 is coming in a new colour, and there are a few other big changes as well that we'll find out about now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the all-new Honor Magic V6.
This is the new red colourway that they've got going. I actually really like this red, and it's got a soft
Available
touch back.
in 4 distinct colourways that redefine the very pinnacle of foldable design. Elite so bold, it already arrived at MWC, already bearing the industry's ultimate seal of approval, the 2026 IF Design Award. The true breakthrough lies between the harmony
A
of how it
velvet.
looks
That's
and how it
kind
lives
of
in your hand.
impressive.
We've
If it
engineered
feels
a
as
velvet
good
touch,
as velvet
which feels
feels,
soft,
I'm excited for it.
intact with light,
Though
and
I wonder
remains
how it will
resilient
hold
in
up
the real
over
world.
time. I guess
It
only
is
really
bold.
time's going to tell as
It
to
is
how this
unapologetic,
velvet's going to
and it is
feel
the
after a
new
few hours.
face
The
and a
cameras,
high-polished
the
finish.
layout on the
It's
back
designed to
really
catch
hasn't
light
changed
from
much from the
every angle,
V5 days. It looks
much like the
pretty
star
similar, but I think
at
the
the centre
sensors
of the
inside
galaxy.
have changed quite a lot.
Alongside red, to add
How
power,
on earth
we've
have they managed to
re-engineered
get this
the
thing?
entire
I don't know how they've managed to make this thing
redesigned.
thinner.
Each
On the
millimetre
V5, it's
considered
essentially
for
the
more battery.
size of a
The
USB-C
result,
port.
a 6,660 milliamp battery
I-
with 25%
Again, I think
more
that is a
silicon.
larger battery than we're
It's the
seeing on the
largest battery
V5.
ever seen in a foldable.
And the battery itself is
To put that
actually
into perspective,
slimmer as well.
that's enough
You'll
power
see
to watch
that
all
in a
movies,
second. So
engineering
the
into
battery
everyday
in the V6
reality.
is the
We are the
world's
pioneers
thinnest battery. It is
of real
essentially
magic.
the thickness of a playing card, which is what we're going to see here. A 1 centimeter gap, he's able to flick one of these Magic V6 batteries through it. Look at how thin that thing is. That is insane. It is an impressive feat of engineering. It means that you're getting this incredibly thin
Now,
device with a
I've never been
incredibly
great at card games
big
or
battery.
magic tricks.
0.15 mil is
It's
ridiculous.
the thinnest,
I am
highest energy
so
density
impressed
battery
by the size of this battery.
ever
It's not
made.
something that you usually think about when it comes to smartphones, but it makes a big difference.
The
So
non-negotiable
reliability,
for a
the
foldable phone.
V5
So,
was an incredibly
how do we
strong
prove it
device,
once
and
again?
still is,
Let's witness
but the
the
V6 seems to have taken that to the next level, as we see in this video with one of my least favourite YouTubers, sorry Joe Weller, basically ziplining off of this thing, and he weighs a lot for like this phone to be carrying.
Oh my god, it's doing it!
It's impressive.
If I'm spared by the Magic V6, let's go! Oh my gosh!
80 kilograms this phone is able to hold. Obviously, we're not kind of doing it when it's unfolded. That would be insanity. But it's still impressive that it managed to survive essentially holding up an 80 kilogram weight ziplining along. So I don't really get why you would need a phone to be that
We also offer the high
like
standard of dust
to
and
be
water resistance.
stronger than a
IP68
car.
and
You've got IP68, IP69. Again, that's
Most
pretty
phones
standard
feel
on
that.
the
For us,
foldable devices
it's
from
a
Honor. We
smart
saw it last year with the V5.
Right now,
Um,
live at our stand, the
And they're
Magic
essentially,
V6 can be
they can
seen
open and
unfolded
close this
underwater.
thing underwater and it not
Matrix,
damage
just
it.
pure Honor engineering.
It's
take
a
a
very
look
standard thing in
after the
foldables
show.
now. A few years ago, it definitely
But resistance
wasn't.
does pure
So
detail.
essentially, we've got a new
under the
anti-glare
harshest
coating here
sun,
as well,
we've
kind of
neutralised
similar to
glare
what we've
to
had
outshine
on the
even the
Samsung
brightest
Galaxy
stars
Fold devices in the past,
galaxy.
but it seems to do a much better job here.
And finally, it means we've created an inner display which holds almost no visible crease. Accredited by the SGS Gold Standard.
I'm interested to
it's
see
stronger,
just how much of a
flatter,
crease there
and more
actually is, because
immersive
even on the
than ever.
V5 here, you can still
Unlike the
see
other
the
brands, we
crease.
also picked
So
script
if they've
styles
managed to almost
across both
completely
screens.
remove it, I'd be interested to
It
see
means this
just
is a
how much
creaseless
you can still
canvas
see.
for genuine productivity. But a canvas is only
Now,
useful
stylus
if you can
support
see it.
was a thing on the
We've engineered
V5,
the
but
world's
quite
brightest
honestly, I
eye-friendly
didn't actually
display.
use it that
6,000
much.
nits to outshine the sun,
Display-wise,
and
a very, very
4,350
standard
hertz
display
PWM
for
dimming to
Honor.
eliminate eye strain
So
and
in
structural
terms of cameras,
durability.
we've got a new
We
camera
wanted to
here,
transcend hardware limitations
which
across
is the
entire
64
device.
megapixel
To achieve this,
telephoto lens.
we've
I
included
think it was a
CEPA
50 megapixel in the V5.
64 megapixel telephoto camera.
A half-inch telephoto lens as well is nice.
And powered by a new portrait engine, it doesn't just take a photo. It understands the scene by reading light, calculating depth, and capturing the raw
uses
emotion
AI. It's a
every event.
standard thing that it can tell between different
and
kinds
AI
of
colour
material. For
detection.
example, it can
It
tell when there is
understands the
gold in the
difference
scene or
between
when
the yellow
something is just
and the
yellow.
glow of colour.
The
The
Snapdragon 8
architecture.
Elite, it's the chip that we're going to start to see in all of these high-end devices now for the next year or so until the next one comes out. So nothing new, innovative or exciting here, just what we would
This power creates the
expect.
most world's comprehensive split screen.
So this is slightly more agentic than we've seen before in other smartphones. You can kind of ask it to open a document and make changes to it, and it can understand it and do that. That's pretty exciting stuff. The meeting agent is again something that we're starting to see a lot more of. I personally use a standalone device when it comes to AI meeting agents, but having it on a smartphone is certainly a nice feature. This is exciting. So what they've managed to do is almost integrate this Android phone into Apple's ecosystem in a pretty big way. From what I can tell, this is actually an official collaboration between Honor and Apple. You can now use your V8, you can now use your V5, V6 screen as a secondary display for your Mac without having to install other apps. File sharing has always been incredibly simple on these devices. iWork is a big one. Essentially, you've got versions of iWork that work natively on the Honor Magic devices now, including things like your iCloud Connect, so you can connect up and see all your iCloud Drive, your iCloud photos. So it's a big thing, and it's actually really exciting to see it all. AirPod integration, for example, is something that we've never seen properly integrated into an Android phone, but somehow Honor have managed to do it. And from what I can see here, I wonder if we can actually connect up the Apple Watch directly to a Honor device. If you can, then that is amazing, because I'm still to find an Android smartwatch that I actually enjoy using. That is impressive. So they've got this whole new camera kit that comes that you can buy for the Honor Magic 8. So the next big device that was announced was this guy, the Magic Pad 4. This is their brand new tablet, and it's pretty big news in a few key ways. 12.3-inch screen, but this thing is 4.8 millimeters thin. For context, that's actually thinner than than that iPad Pro that they were shouting from the rooftops about how damn thin this thing is.
Thinner than the iPad Pro.
Yeah, so there you go. This thing is ridiculously thin.
The Air is actually thicker. We're not sure why. We just focused on winning the race for best
4.8 mil to the 5.1 mil. I can't fathom that.
The iPad Pro as having the most immersive display with its 7.6mm bezels. For us, 3.9mm.
3.9. Like this is one of the best displays on a tablet in terms of its resolution, OLED, and that screen to body ratio is just nuts. 165 hertz, 2400 nits of peak brightness. This looks like an incredible tablet. Obviously, we're going to have all of the same AI features and all of the same integrations into the Apple ecosystem that we saw on the Magic V6, 10,100 mAh, Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. But the really exciting thing here is the price. We'll find out in a little bit. Again, this is all the stuff that they spoke about earlier, where you can kind of transfer between Apple devices and Honor devices really quickly and easily now. So apparently you can deploy OpenClaw onto this tablet. It is that powerful. Again, I've had bad experiences in the past with OpenClaw, so I probably wouldn't be doing that. But it's exciting to know that it's something that you can do. This thing's actually releasing in like a couple of days, so you'll be able to buy this thing really, really soon. And that pricing is just ridiculous. $699. This is cheaper than an iPad Pro. It is thinner, it is lighter, it is bigger. That screen is just more immersive. Everything about this tablet, on paper, sounds like it is one of the best tablets in the world. From $599 if you're buying on the early bird pricing, which I most likely will, because I want to test this thing out myself. that seems like
Now,
a remarkable
let's
price.
quickly meet
So we
14,
saw the Magic Book Pro 14 last year.
Thinner,
This
faster,
year,
and
all it really is
smarter
a
than
spec
ever.
bump in terms of the
When it
latest
comes to
Intel
battery life,
chips.
we have to
And there's a
mention the
slightly
MacBook Pro.
better battery
It's been
life
the
bump as well
industry
there.
benchmark.
So we saw this as the teaser trailer for what was about to happen at MWC. We see that robotic phone here, the robot. Yep, here he is. Cute little guy. But we also have this robot that walks into the lab. And they brought this thing out, and you'll see it in a second, and it did the most incredible thing. I genuinely was so amazed at what this thing was able to do. Bro has better dance moves than me. They have invented a clanker that can shakes hands. Yeah, clearly, like there's someone controlling this thing behind the scenes.
Just okay, I guess. I can do it better.
Huh? Can you do some difference?
Of course, I can.
That's cute. I mean, this little phone's got personality. You've got to give it that.
Robot, can you do the same thing?
That is pretty impressive. This thing just did a backflip. It wasn't the most gracious of backflips, admittedly, but it was still a backflip. It's better than I could do. Anyway, let's find out a little bit more about this robot phone, because there's a few really interesting points about it. So this last year was just a concept phone, but now it's genuinely a thing that they are going to release. You flick the back out and up it comes, and it can see the world and understand the world. At first we assumed this was just going to be like a Pocket 3, but it seems to actually have intelligence built in. So it can look around its environment, it understands what is around it. There you go, so it's watching as it goes on. It's a bit dystopian and a little bit creepy, but it's also a very cool concept. See it dancing along there. Personally, I think the main reason I would want this phone is as a creator tool, as a video camera that I can take with me on the go. I don't need to take a Pocket 3 with me, I could just take my phone. Yeah, so you can do cool things like make it fully pivot. This is actually 4 degrees of freedom, which is 1 more than the Pocket 3 had. It is able to move in 4 different directions, and it's an incredible feat of engineering for them to be able to fit this thing into a phone that can essentially just fold away into itself. So they've actually designed the world's thinnest micromotor. Apparently it's incredibly strong. We don't know how strong yet. They haven't let anyone get hands-on with this thing outside of Honor and Honor employees for, I assume, obvious reasons. This is still very much in development. I don't think they're releasing it until Q2 or the second half of 2026. So this thing is 70% smaller than the smallest micromotor on the market, meaning that they've been able to essentially fit this into a phone that's not incredibly thick. Now, I don't get this whole AI thing of it having a personality. I just want it as a camera. I don't need it to do all this other stuff as well. It seems a little bit gimmicky to me. I get it, they're trying to appeal to the everyday audience, to the mums and pops of the world, but for me, all I care about is how good that video quality is. So obviously, yeah, you're getting stabilization built in. A lot of phones these days do have kind of a moving piece for stabilization, but nothing up to this level. AI object tracking is another pretty big one that I'm assuming they must have generated some kind of base. So you can essentially sit this thing like that and it be able to use the camera on the top. Because it's going to be thick, but it's not going to, I don't think, be thick enough to be able to sit on the table on its own. So, there we have it, guys. That was everything that Honor announced at MWC this year. We really didn't see a lot in terms of pricing and availability for these devices, other than that tablet, which is coming out in a couple of days. If you want to see a video review of that, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm hoping to get hands-on with as many of these devices as possible. I think I've got a pretty good working relationship with Honor at this point, so I think we're going to start to see these kinds of devices coming through the studio here, so we can have play with them and test them all out. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, get subscribed down below. Of course, my name's been Robert. This has been Bite Size Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.